lights or the mics?
Gotcha. Lights are in the mics.
Where are the mics?
You're on.
The mics are everywhere?
The mics are everywhere.
Oh, the mic! Look at the new mic!
It's sort of late to ask where the mic is.
No, because I'm used to that one over there. Well, welcome to another segment of Real Talk 360 with your man Tag, Ricardo Nieves, and your boy Julio is out in town this week. He's out there supporting our local champion, Willie the Mongoose Monroe.
Yes, we're very proud of him.
So I got a super co-host to substitute for that poor Julio who likes to leave people behind.
And we're holding it down in Rochester.
Absolutely.
That's right. We're celebrating the Monroe, the Mongoose, and we're celebrating. The city is on fire.
And again, you are who? Even though you've been on our show a couple times?
Mercedes Vasquez from Pretty Girl Promotions. So
say that one more time with something.
Mercedes Vasquez from Pretty Girl Promotions. That's right. All things boxing. Yes.
I told you we got this.
We got it. We got it. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about a few things this week. So, I don't know. We're having Mercedes here. She's had some experience with stuff with the community, especially with her mom, who has been very involved with the community for many years. I want to talk a little bit about some stuff like that. That I'm always got a little bug about talking about things within our Latino community and within the community in general. Things that go on, current events, so on and so forth. But then we're also going to finish off our segment off with obviously with some boxing because
that's right.
That's what we're all about.
That's right.
That's what we do. Right. That's what we do. So Mercedes, tell me a little bit about yourself, with your background, and just tell me your background.
Tell me my life.
Tell me your life all up in a nutshell. How do you see how things were back then in our community?
Sure. And
how they transpired to be where they are today, and what your thoughts are in that transition.
Sure. Yeah. Well, born and raised in the city of Rochester to Puerto Rican parents. My parents came here, looking for the better life for their kids, right? But my mother has always been just one of those strict people. She was about the community, about her children, and about keeping, our race in the highest regards. Mm-hmm. Now, it went to everything. Listen, my mother parented everyone. There wasn't one person in the neighborhood that didn't know about my mother's chancleta.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's what's lacking in this generation, is that we don't have that matriarch in our community, and we do, but it's just disciplining some of these younger people. I think that's why we're having so many of these social issues.
No, I completely 100% agree with you. I grew up in the Flambos, not far from where you grew up at.
That's right.
And
same neighborhood.
Yeah, even if I didn't know who the adult was, they'd be like, well, they said, go away, I'm going to tell your grandmother. And I'm like, oh, damn, I'm in trouble. But regardless if she didn't say that, I knew they were adults, and I never disrespected them regardless. Yeah. And when they said, I'm going to tell your grandmother, they obviously knew who I was. So I was like,
Oh, you know what? And you were probably one of the lucky ones that didn't get it first from them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because
absolutely.
listen, that's from the Flamboyanes. They'll get you by the ear.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
We don't have that anymore.
No, it's unfortunate. I was more worried about, okay, now they know, now I know I'm going to get it from my mother. Mm-hmm. But on the way there, please, she must have called Doña Monza, Doña Ramona, everybody. You're getting cantazos before you even get home. You're wow, you're all bruised up. But I think that's what's lacking. And more so, like now we're creeping into the summer, right? And more so that dreaded after Puerto Rican festival event. We take so much pride in this Puerto Rican festival, and then the aftermath sort of kind of ruins everything that we've built up. Now, Orlando has done a phenomenal job, and every year, there's a commitment from the Puerto Rican festival, that we're going to try to do things, and they try to do as much as is possible, but there's always this thing that you can't, everyone says you should blame the Puerto Rican festival because this is the event that happens, but as a community, we all have to take account for this, what happens afterwards.
It's funny because I personally think that the people who are causing this, for one, many of them are not even Hispanic.
Yeah, you're right.
Not even Puerto Rican. And the other thing is they're not originally from here.
That's right.
They're not originally from here, even if they are Puerto Rican. So they don't even know the struggles that this Latino Puerto Rican community has gone through. From the the 50s and 60s and 70s up to where I came through late mid 70s and 80s and stuff like that.
You're around the mid 70s?
I was born in 75. You gotta look at my government year off there. But I grew up in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby.
Oh, now he's an 80s baby.
I'm an 80s baby. I was 5 years old. Started in 1980. But I seen the transition, and then when you got these people that come from Puerto Rico or another state that are not originally from here, and they don't understand what we went through as a community, how they don't respect it. They just think that that's the way it is, and it isn't. Because this never used to happen until we started getting this barrage of it. Well, I don't know if I can say immigrants because Puerto Rico is part of the United States, but it's not just Puerto Rico. You got Cubans, you got all types of different. We're having A lot of it is from people not just coming from Puerto Rico, they're coming from other states and cities and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And they're coming here. And I know firsthand when I used to work for Ibero, I used to see a lot of them come in. I just got here last week. I need some, help. How do I get benefits?
Yeah.
I used to be like, go here, go there, go there. And they're just coming in, showing up, and they're struggling. They eventually get involved into like the negative stuff, selling drugs, doing drugs, whatever the heck. And not all of them.
Right.
But I just noticed that a lot of the people that are doing that, I don't see the people I grew up with out there really doing that. There could be some as a handful, but the majority is just, they're strangers, in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't think all that riffraff, and I hate to call it that, but if you're just gracing my
Absolutely.
flag, then I'm going to call you a riffraff. I don't think many of them are from Rochester. I don't think many of them are Puerto Rican, but I do see a lot of our youth out there. So we've failed our youth to say,
Ooh, I agree.
this is an education, and guess what? If you get arrested, so be it. But please don't come to the agency looking for help. Don't ask for Ibero and don't ask all those agencies because you shouldn't be out there cutting up after the festival. Anything that disparages and discards my flag, I have no tolerance for it.
Absolutely.
Because I know our struggle. When we talk a little bit about our struggle, my mother when she came here, she recalls taking a test just to vote. I mean, just think about that.
Yeah.
She didn't speak English, and here you're being asked to take a test in English to vote. And it was my mother's joy just to be able to pass and be able to, bajar la palanca.
Absolutely.
Bajar la palanca.
But see, back then, your mother knew that struggle just like my grandmother knew, and a lot of people in that time where if they knew if someone came new to Rochester, they would help each other out.
You got it.
They would let you stay at their house and take you to welfare, get signed up for some food stamps or some housing. They all did that as strangers, but they knew that we're Latinos, we have to help each other out.
That's right, it was community back then.
It was more of a close-knit community, and we did that because we were Latinos. We felt like we were brethren. I don't feel that no more. There's a huge disconnect, and you're right. We have failed our children. We failed that generation, and it started honestly with that generation because I feel like they have failed to create a succession plan to take some of those younger people that were coming up under them, the generation. I would say the generation before me. Not my grandparents and your mom's generation because they're around that same one.
Right.
But I think at that time they kind of failed to take under their wings like one of my biggest people that I look up to is Robert Burgos. Him and Al Burgos. I mean the Burgos family, and they've been here forever. But you got those people who have told me so many stories about how back then, if something happened against the Latino community, they will get together on a phone tree.
That's right.
Next thing you know, in about an hour or two, they're at City Hall.
I know it.
And he was to tell me all these stories, and I'm like, why aren't we like that anymore? I mean, is it because we were never taught that? Did we never see that? Were we not exposed to that? I mean, what happened? Because
I remember that. I'm slightly older than you, but I do remember when there was an issue, the Latinos would rally up, and I think we saw it last year with the whole issue that was happening with the housing.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. And it was the first time in 10, 20 years that we saw the community really unite and say, this can't happen. This injustice against the Latino, right? And there was more to it, but that became really, I said, man, I miss this. How come we're not doing this anymore? Why aren't we railing up? And right now there's a situation at the city school district where now there's discussion of possibly funds being cut for the bilingual education. Now this is something that is near and dear to me. First of all, I was in the bilingual program and I struggled with two.
What was it called back then? ESO.
It wasn't called. That's what's called bilingual education.
No, it was called ESO when I went to school. I wasn't in it, but I knew those cats that were. It was called ESO, ESOL.
Yeah, English as a second language. That's we're getting them there, right? But this is where all the Latinos, and more so if you were brought in a home that mixed languages, especially like your mother, they speak Spanish. You learn Spanish first, and then through your integration into schools and your friend, you learn English.
Yeah,
it's a transition, and I think that the bilingual education plays such an important part in our youth. That if once your services get cut, then what happens is now as a student, you're discouraged. That means you're probably not going to go to school, and guess what? You're going to end up in the streets.
Did you hear that rumor that they're considering making it a disability if you can't speak English if you're Latino?
That's unfortunate.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I had
For real?
Yeah.
If you're Puerto Rican, I think it's Puerto Ricans or just people Latino in general, if they can't speak English, it's a disability. I'm like, I'm sorry, man. You gotta pick.
Yeah.
This is one thing I gotta say.
And more so coming from a country that it's a melting pot of all nationalities.
Absolutely.
Everyone came here, you know what I mean?
Everyone's an immigrant.
Even the Indians, right?
Even the Indians.
Right. Even the Indians, right? The Indians are the natives. Everyone else I mean, really.
Nah, one thing I gotta tell you about my Latino people, for the most part, not all of them, but for the most part, they're lazy. When they want to do something, when they want to get something done, they're like, you can tell them about this free program, right? But you have to apply for it. You can take them you would have to take them the application, sign it, fill it out for them, and have them sign it, and then you go take it for them, for them to get something done. You could, like, if you tell me there's something free, I don't care if I gotta walk. I will be there.
You'll be there.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
These people want everything handed to them.
Yeah.
And they're quick to complain
And it's free.
no, but they're quick to claim an injury or disability to get disability checks. And I'm not saying it's just Latino people, but I'm just saying though, you know, there's a stigma behind it where I feel like my Latino people have kind of let themselves down because I look at I work in the community. In the community I work in, because I'm a city inspector, I have a lot of Nepalese and Asian people. And you see them, man, their hands, they're little people, their hands are all grinded down and like hard like calluses, and they work very, very, very hard.
Sure. And
very hard.
They come here. And they grind.
Yeah, they work hard. And people talk about the Mexicans coming here in this country, but they work down to their bone.
Thank you.
They work hard.
You're absolutely right.
And I don't know, I don't know if they, you know, Puerto Ricans in particular feel like we got it because we're part of the United States, that we're okay. No, you are your own person. It doesn't matter what your culture is, what your background is, or that you're United States citizens or not. You are your own person. You're responsible for your own actions and your own family. You should not be looking out for a handout.
Yeah.
Unless you really, really need it, and people do occasionally need it.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Something happened. Something happened. I think in the 70s, and here I am. I'm also going to date myself. 70s, and there was a grind, right? We were all trying. We were owning bodegas. We were owning businesses, and we're getting.
I know every bodega I went to was Latino.
Right. What is it now? They're Arabs.
Yep.
And it's unfortunate, right?
Yeah.
We've sold ourselves out. We cashed out, whatever the case may be, but we lost that American dream, that hunger to want to succeed.
To want that ambition.
Because you're easy. It's so easy to do this. Listen, my mother, and I am thankful for my mother never going on social service, and no knock to anyone that that is on social service. My mother made a choice. She said, the second you take on social service, the government owes you. And isn't that something that, here it is, my mother told me that when I was 5 or 6, because I'm wondering, why don't I have all the cool stuff? Why don't we have steak? Like, we barely, to have meat was like an event. We ate, you know what I mean? We ate fried green tomatoes.
You heard talking about taking that out the food stamp system?
We never, except my mother
taking that
never.
Out now.
Yeah.
Food stamps are talking about taking out seafood, steaks, and junk food.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, of course.
I think if you want that,
how do I have it? Right. So, I mean, early on, I saw all my friends indulging in all this stuff. My mother goes, no, that's this type of food. To premium, you earn that.
Absolutely.
When you're old enough to work, you get it. And it was like that type of value that my mother instilled, and I thank her for it. Although at the time I'm like, shit, I want some steak.
Yeah.
I want a chuleta. But thank God my mother was like that with us, because now, I mean, I refuse to take it because it can own me. So whatever systems, hopefully Social Security, if you could ever cash out into it, which you're right. But you know. I mean, to your point, I think our people have become complacent, particularly Puerto Ricans. And if anyone's offended by this,
this is real
deal with
talk.
it in therapy.
This is real talk. They went in therapy, but this is real
right.
talk. Listen, man. I mean, I grew up pretty rough. I didn't need to, but I was a hard-headed kid, and I grew up in the streets. But I had a very
Not
good.
you.
I was just saying it because I did have a loving family. They were pretty tough on me, but it's not like my family was family.
Yeah, a great family.
They had their issues, but you know, they were very, very tight. It's just I made some choices growing up in my environment, what led me to be where I, through the road that I went. I wish I didn't, because I would have been much further in life, had it been different. But I don't regret it. I actually appreciate the way I grew up because.
That's who you are now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And listen, growing up in the Flambles, we had a water park. It was called a fire hydrant. All right. It was right there back by Lower Street, and we were all back there. And we had a game called Googly and Kickball and Stickball, and that was our games. But active, playing freeze tag. We were always active. First ones with the Atari used to come through and play it. But after a while, because we had it, my grandmother for one hogged it up, played Pac-Man. And for two, you can only play that for so long because all your friends are outside.
That's right there.
I don't know. Me remembering my childhood, my summers were long and my winters are short. Cause I mean the best out of those
Oh
summers.
yeah, you know what I
We were
gotta
up there early and we were out till late till the lights came on.
Listen, I remember going bike riding all the way to Seneca Park, going swimming. We used to tie up our thing. My son can't do that. I wouldn't even think about
It's
letting my
crazy
son
now.
go on.
No, absolutely, I
Yeah, but we
agree.
would go out. Matter of fact, we actually drove our bike to Charlotte. Like, this we didn't
Yeah,
care,
yeah.
but we were all in a group. We all whole thing to do, you know, that freedom.
Yeah.
You know, and unfortunately, our kids don't have that freedom because there's a lot of cuckoo people out there. But
Now, do you think that they've always been around, or there's just more of them now, or do
I
you
think
think
they've
the
always
media
been
exposes
around.
more of those stories?
yeah, I think they've always been around. We just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
You know, and there was a level of trust. I mean, my mother used to leave her door open.
Yeah.
My mother got like 13 candados now. And the rosary tied up into it. You better pray if you're going to break into my mother.
We had the Limbe lady, we had the candy lady, we had...
I had the Limbe lady down my street,
Yeah,
though.
well, I had the one right next door, and Doña Monza up there had a couple of people, and then the lady next door had a candy rack. Like, I used to go outside and walk barefooted on ice, knock on the door, give her like 50 cents, pick out these like Charlie Chan's or Charlie Clans lemon heads and
the
whatever,
best, man.
Boston Babies, and just, you know, run back to my house and stuff. But, you know, I don't know, I had an awesome childhood, man. I loved
Yeah.
it.
But you know, back then I think that families looked out for each other too.
Mhm.
That if your kid was going out there, they're going to call your parent to say that. We just don't have that anymore. And I think that's why we've seen so many of our kids go the wrong direction.
I don't know. I was fortunate in that time. There was a lot of other kids growing up in that era at that time that I still, for the most part, are still around. Thank God. They're either gone deceased or they're gone locked up or they moved away. But a lot of them I still see, and we're like flambos. We reminisce about it all the time. But I think it's because of those group of people that I grew up with that I feel so blessed and fortunate. And the things that we did growing up, we had so much fun.
Yeah.
We had so much fun, and we had respect for elders. I mean, and back then, if there was a fight, either you break dance it out or you knuckle it up, and that's it. Either a breakdance battle or you fight real quick, and
Get the
that's
cardboard out. Get the
it.
cardboard.
Get the cardboard. But I love this. It's a memory that I would never ever trade for anything.
That's
and
it.
I guess knowing how hard I came up and the circumstances I came up under, where I'm at right now, I feel blessed and fortunate. I've had my house now 16 years in March.
Wow,
It's not a
congratulations.
mansion, but it's my palace, and I love
That's
it.
it,
You know,
that's it.
It's all mine. So.
And you know what? That's a good, true testament to it. That you could do whatever you want. You could do as long as you put your mind to it.
Absolutely.
You know, because you and I both came from the same neighborhood,
Mhm.
and I'm very proud to say that I'm from the Clinton area.
Yep.
Very proud of the fact that we were dirt poor. Like
Right.
I think I put a post out there. I didn't even know I was poor. Someone told me, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
did my friends know we're poor?"
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we're in the hood. Someone says, "Oh, you're from the hood." I was like, "I am." I had no idea. I really didn't, because everyone around me were my friends, and we were happy.
I don't think I knew I was poor. I think I knew I was poor, but it's like to me, I think it was normal. I guess I thought it was just normal for me because
Right.
I remember the government cheese and the powdered egg. And,
No, man, but that was some good stuff, though.
No, I didn't like that. I didn't like any
cheese
of
is
that.
awesome.
I didn't like any of
Oh
that.
my
That was like
God.
a big block of grease. I didn't like that. But I mean, we lived in what was called the Roach Motel. We had fumigations every 3 damn months. I mean, I had family that there were roaches. I used to name them all. I mean,
I can't deal.
and it's funny because I go to homes now and I'm like, I see a house of roaches. I walk on, I feel like they're crawling on me.
Isn't
Little
that
did
something?
people know I grew up under those kind of conditions.
Yeah.
Not as severe as I see them here,
Yeah.
but it was bad. You see a roach, you're like, hey, what's up, primo? You know, and they keep it moving, you know. But that was just our condition that we lived in, and
Yeah.
it was what it was.
But it
I
really
mean,
did. It made us who we are today.
Mhm.
And I don't think that, our grind would be our grind if we didn't go through all that stuff.
Absolutely.
I'm convinced of it. I often see people that I grew up with, and they've done extremely well for themselves. They own major companies, and they forget. They're like,
Yeah.
like,
And I
let's
think-
not talk about
and
that. Let's
that-
talk about your Louis purse.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and that's part of one of the things where I feel like we got that generational gap. Some people make it, they leave, and they say they come back, and you see them once in a while, but are they really
oh,
back?
how about they're from New York? Oh, I'm just from New York. Oh, the city. No, you're from Rochester.
Yeah.
The neighborhood, the barrio.
Yeah.
Dos Torre Park. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where you used to hang out. I think when you do that to yourself, it's an injustice to yourself.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? If
The
you're
moment
not,
you forget who you are,
Thank you.
forget about it.
Yeah.
Forget about it. What do you think that we need today to help bridge that gap back together? To start, I think honestly, for the most part, it might be a lost cause to bridge that old gap with the new one, but because it's such a big gap now, it's such a big gap.
Yeah.
To try to bring it back together will take a super involvement from all parties and a long time commitment from all parties. So what, other than that, I mean, is there anything that you think that can
I
help
honestly
out?
think it's our generation that needs to really step up and do things. And I think we are, right? We're sort of setting an example and letting them know just because you came from Clinton doesn't mean Clinton has to be the end. And not to say that there's anything wrong with being from Clinton, but you don't have to be a ghetto mentality. You know, you could really go out there and get educated. I mean, I ended up getting my master's degree and hopefully get my doctoral degree, and that's something that I choose. That's my personal goal to do that. Anything that you put your mind to, you can do it. Don't be a circumstances. Don't be a victim of your circumstance. Rise above it.
Mercedes, you drive down through Clinton like I do. You recognize anybody out there?
I recognize a lot of old people, but there's a lot of people. But
I don't recognize anybody out there anymore.
There's a new generation of
Once
people.
in a while, I'll see somebody, but I'm like, if I recognize anybody, they're usually in another car driving by just like I am. Because I don't know who the hell these people
Well,
are.
we're a little older, Kyle. We don't hang
I'm just
out
saying,
anymore.
I don't know these people. If they're kids, I may know their cousins or uncles or moms or dads, but I don't know
These are our
people.
friends' kids or maybe their grandkids, right?
What I'm trying to say is that the most of the people that are out there right now are drug users. Not even much drug dealers out there now because of the cameras and everything, but it has become a place for, like, honestly, like zombies. Where I see these people, you can tell, they're users. They're users.
They got the face, they got the look, the glare.
Yes, they're
Yeah,
users.
yeah,
They're
yeah.
users. They're out there wasting the day looking for that next hit.
You know, they're up there early in the morning too.
Do they
Cracking
sleep?
on. Yeah, that's probably right.
I don't think they
That's probably right.
sleep. My cousin Lisi, I don't know, Lisette Castro, when she used to work for, was it Trillium now, it used to be called Ace Rochester. She took me, I was riding with her, and she took me behind this this church I used to go to where they finished building a gym, Santidad Pentecostal. When it was in this building phase,
Oh, say it again.
Santidad Pentecostal.
That was a struggle.
Yeah, Santidad Pentecostal. I used to say with no problem. Well, Pentecostal holiness.
Okay.
And I went back there, and I'm like, what the hell is all this? Vials. I mean, there had to be thousands and thousands of vials and syringes in this small little area where they hide back there and shoot up. And that's just one area out of many, because she said, this is nothing. I'll take you to some of the abandoned houses, and this is where they break into to, have their little moment and just,
That's sad. Yeah.
No, and drug use is really, and
Listen, I was mowing my mother's lawn the other day, and her lawn is about this big, It's nothing but little dime bags.
Yeah.
And the thing is, my mother asked me, she goes, "Esa bolsita, what are they for?" And I'm like, I don't even know how to tell her that there were so many plastic bags. And then she goes, "Is that what I think it's for?" And I said, "Yeah, it's what it is." She was like, "There were so many of them, I was almost embarrassed." I was just like, how did we become a generation where it's okay to do that? Now, my mother, let me tell you, my mother's been in the same neighborhood for 45 years, I think. And she refuses to move because she says, "I bought this house, I earned it." She worked 2 or 3 jobs at a time, and she earned it. And there's no way in heck I could probably get her to move out of the
Probably
condo,
not.
right? But everyone in the street respects her. And I'm just thankful for that. I mean, occasionally she'll walk to St. Michael's, but what I'm fearful is the younger generation that they don't have respect for life unless an older woman.
No.
Fearful. My and my is she's an advocate, and I'm that's what I was raised with. My mother being an advocate and always fighting for what's right, always fighting for social justice, education. So she's always going to say, "Put your pants up." Right?
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
my mother works my door, works the door at all my fights. Anyone that comes in with saggy pants, she says, "Before you buy a ticket, you better raise your pants." It's hilarious, and then she's telling everyone, I've got a discount for you. The tickets may have been $30. She goes, 3 for $100. She just says it to see if she can catch them. No, it's not 3 for $100, it's 3 for $90. Right? But she'll say it just to see if she can catch them, and she goes, "No, it's 3 for $90. Take the time and do the math." Like, who does that? But my mother wants you to think.
Yeah.
Don't just throw
absolutely.
your money down. Don't throw your money down. But she's a trip. My mother's
No, but
retirement
I mean,
age.
That goes to show you. I mean, I was watching this documentary. That's why I was turning on my phone to look at it, because I'm trying to text myself because I don't remember. There's this documentary called The House I Live In.
Okay.
You have to watch this. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
It's very, very powerful. It talks about drugs. Drugs, period. How drugs is the problem for every issue that we have going on pretty much right now. Socially, economically, and especially in the urban areas.
See, and everyone thinks it was cable TV. It's not cable
It's
TV.
not cable TV.
It's not the novelas.
I think the way people spend their money is a little messed up. You got your kid that needs food, you want to get your cable and your hair did. That's different. The house I live in it's really tripped out because they talk about how these drugs used to be legal, like cocaine and heroin. They were all medications back then.
Oh, no kidding.
Cocaine used to be in Coca-Cola.
No wonder it was so good.
Used to be in there, and along with some other stuff. Anyways, they talk about how they used drugs to kind of segregate and criminalize people of ethnicity, like opium with the Asian people.
Wow.
Like everybody was doing opium,
It's like a conspiracy.
but because Asian people were coming in and flooding the gates and taking all the work, they decided to use opium as a way, because they were using it to make it a criminal act.
Isn't that something?
And then they talk about how cocaine was the same way, and it was tripped out how they actually took drugs and pushed it. Now
It's you know what? It's fascinating.
Yeah, it tripped me
It's a
out.
true conspiracy theory as to controlling a segment, right?
And
we're already
do you know which one you
segregated.
get more time for? Crack or cocaine? Which one do you get more time for?
Today?
Yeah.
Crack or probably crack.
Right? Crack is the one you get more. If you got caught with crack or cocaine, which one you gonna go? Which one's gonna give you more stiffest penalty? Well, crack gives you a harsher penalty.
Really?
By like,
I know that if you have a drug charge, if you got someone that committed murder and the person who is selling drugs does more time. It's weird.
Oh no, absolutely.
Versus the person who you killed somebody.
No, and that's the whole thing. You got to watch this documentary.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it.
The
I'm
whole
gonna
thing
make
is
a point.
flooded with so many people that involved with drugs that they're mixing them up with violent people in the prison population. But the only difference between cocaine and crack is water and baking soda and heat. That's it.
Wow.
The only difference between cocaine and crack is water,
More
heat,
educated
and
now.
baking soda. And you end up getting like crazy. You can get like 60 years for three
With 3 little extra
Yeah.
ingredients. And they're all natural too. Natural ingredients, right?
Yeah, but that's the only difference. And now there been people been going back to Congress and all that and trying to change the laws because they think it's unfair.
Yeah.
You know, and granted, you do drugs or you use drugs, yeah, you should do some time or whatever, absolutely. But when you're doing a lifetime,
Yeah.
Why?
And more so, I go back to, if you commit murder, you have less time than someone that's sold drugs.
no, and I'm telling you, watch this
Why
documentary.
should you do time if you choose to do drugs?
Well, I think, it's your own body. I get you that. And I've always kind of thought that. It's my body. I do whatever the hell I want with it.
What's
But-
not that you're using drugs that you're in jail? It's because you either had possession of it.
Possession.
Or
It's
you're selling
possession.
it, or you're
It's not that
selling
you're
it.
using it. It's that you have possession of it. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, that's my. I get it from a societal standpoint. Like, all right, it's not good, but how do we, in one breath, argue my body, my choice, and then go, but now what you inhale, now what you inject,
Well, that's like the
now what you
seatbelt.
sniff,
The
right?
seatbelt.
There you go.
I gotta put the seatbelt. It's my life.
And it's your choice.
It's my choice. But I hear it, I put the seatbelt on just because it is my life. God forbid something happens. I want the risk to go minimum, So, I don't know. It's a very good documentary. I recommend it to everybody. The House I Live In.
I'm going to have to check that out because I'm
It's very,
fascinated by
very, very,
it.
very deep. And there's another one called Park Avenue something. I'll get it to you. And that one talks about, there's a book that was written years and years ago called How the Other Half Lives. I don't know if you guys ever heard of it. It's back like around the 20s and 30s, like when the immigration came in and how the rich was rich. And this photographer or this journalist went into the ghettos of New York City or, to see how the other population was living and just to see the conditions that we're living in and made a whole book out of this.
Wow.
So that Park
This shit
Avenue.
came to our neighborhood. That's a full
Yeah.
volume. That's like 3 volumes
Yeah,
right there, right?
Absolutely. But back then they were living in such foul conditions because their sanitation wasn't the way we have it now.
Wow.
I mean, I see people live
But
messed
this
up.
is here in the U.S. That book is based on. Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, absolutely. This is something that was written like.
You know
back
what
in
gets me
20s and
about
30s.
that? Like, we have our own issues, but yet we want to resolve someone else's issues. We're
Yeah.
spending not hundreds, not thousands, but hundreds of thousands
Yeah.
in resolving issues and getting countries up to like whatever living conditions.
Yeah.
We have neighborhood here that are less than
Oh, absolutely. We're always worried about fixing something somewhere else instead of fixing our problems in our backyard.
That's right.
I don't know if you know this, but Vietnam is like a paradise now. They spend so much money building that country back up over the years.
Right.
That it's a vacation spot now. Vietnam, to think what is gone through over there and transpired. But we got all these issues. We have a serious war back here. I don't see any president talk. They always talk about foreign policy, foreign that, but we don't talk about the problems we have here.
That's right. We need a U.S. policy.
Absolutely, and they're always talking about the poverty rate, the hunger, this, that, and the third. Do you know all the hunger? And all that money too can actually cure heart disease.
Yeah, but they say that war boosts economies all over.
And that's the
so
rich
how
getting richer.
unfortunate,
And
right?
again,
It's like a yin and a yang. It's two opposites.
that's where you gotta watch the Park Avenue one, because a
I
lot of
know
those
they have
guys, those rich guys, they talk about the Koch brothers, K-O-C-H. They are.
He watches a lot of documentaries. I'm
I
so
love-
impressed
yeah,
by
yeah.
this guy.
I love a lot of this stuff. This stuff intrigues me. The Koch brothers, they're billionaires, multi-billionaires, and they live in the most prestigious, high prices place property in New York City, Park Avenue, that one. So they have these nice little businesses, like napkins and cupcakes, whatever the heck it is. But their main thing is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's oil. Oil. And they talk about some of these other guys who are invested into, like, I don't know if you know this, but when 9/11 hit, the stock of weapons, the stock of companies that make weapons, those stocks went like through the roof.
Yeah.
Through the roof.
Of course, yeah.
Through the roof. And those people, whoever had stock in that, just became multi-millionaires overnight.
That's right.
Overnight. And that's where the money's at. And those, I could stay here talking about this stuff forever. Forever. I mean, and this is stuff that I talk about. It starts from the community and it grows into such a big thing.
It really
But
does.
if they go backwards and just start working within these communities and helping some of these kids. See, I think that's what I was asking you earlier. What do you think can help change? I think we need some more programs for these kids.
Yeah, I think, and it's unfortunate that the city, or not just the city, any type of organization is the first services that they cut. It's much needed services that are to maybe our troubled youth. Or even just keeping our kids off the streets.
Yeah.
Those are the first things that are eliminated, but yet monies are allocated to things that would probably our self-interest groups would benefit, not our kids. So there needs to just be an adjustment, and it's all political, right? It's all political. It's funny, I always tell everyone that I'm Republican because my mother's a Democrat. There are certain things that she goes on a tangent about, because she's community activist and grounds up, where I see a lot of conversations happening in different levels, right? Because I work for a private company, and I also own my own company. That it's a conflict. It really is a conflict. You have the economical side of the house that says, I'm not going to pay you more than minimum wage if you haven't even bothered to get a higher education. You know what I mean? And it's funny to watch people want to protest because they want $11, $12 for a Burger King job.
Yeah.
But you choose not to go to school.
Absolutely.
See, this is a choice. This is a country of opportunities. And unfortunately, our people have chosen not to take those opportunities.
I agree.
They want the handout.
I agree. I can't say when people say there's no work. There's no work. No, there's work.
Thank you. There's work.
You're gonna have to start down here and work your way back up. But if you wanted that bad, you can do it. I don't care what circumstances you're in.
Yeah, you have to want it. You have to want it. And that's with anything. You can apply that to any type of discipline. If you want it, you can achieve it. But I think that our youth, and we again, I'll go back to we failed them. You have to want to do things. And I'll use a perfect example. I look at my son. He doesn't, and I bug him about this. I said, you have to want it. Don't ask. I'm not going to push you to do this. Now, so now that you're 18, you're going off to college. You have to want this more than anything else. For you not to go to school, for you not to finish college isn't an option. You have to finish school. Even today, if you don't have a college education, it's very difficult to get a job. Okay, so by the time he's entering into the work market, if you don't have a master's degree, it's like going to be equivalent to a high school diploma.
Right now, an associate's is nothing.
Yeah,
Nothing.
It's unfortunate.
A bachelor's minimum requirement right now, and after that they expect you to get more. But I mean, bachelor's is like minimum requirement now.
Yeah.
For a decent paying job.
So when I hear like high school, of course, we do exit interviews with some of these seniors. I'm really active in my son's education. I try to do as much as I can.
Get it?
No, thank you. He's trying to push that wine. But as a parent, and let's just go back to how do we improve? Parents have to take 100% accountability about their kids. Just when you've decided to have a child, you have to be accountable for everything. I told my son I'm legally responsible till the age of 21, and I'm sure I'm going to be on here.
Hashtag whip that ass. Whip your kid's ass.
I'll be on it after 21 too, because I want him to succeed.
Absolutely.
There's so many roads that could take you in so many different directions. I told my son, you've got a lot of things that are great, because he thinks, I'm a minority on this. No, man, that's not a handicap, man. If
Not at
anything,
all.
you possess greatness because you have all these, you have your Puerto Rican, your African American, your Irish, you have all these great things that are happening for you. Use it to your advantage.
Yeah.
Get that hunger, but you can't grow hunger. You can't teach hunger. You have to want it.
Absolutely.
You have to want it. And as parents, I think we fail in that, and I'm guilty of this too. I gave my son a lot. He's my only child. Of course I'm going to give him everything. So how do you teach your child hunger if they have everything? So I had to scale back, back when he was 10, 11. No, you can't have everything. No, you can't have everything. The rest is history.
No,
he's like, what am I going to get for college? What am I going to get for college?
Every time I see this guy, I get like a sense of pride. Not much more for him, but for Mercedes.
He's a knucklehead, though.
Mercedes raised a good young man.
Thank you.
Good young man.
Thank you.
Musically inclined, very intelligent, outgoing, outspoken.
He's a knucklehead.
He's
a knucklehead.
Good, let him be a little bit. He needs to be a little bit of knucklehead so he can fall a few times, so he can realize what mistakes are. Because I appreciate mistakes. When I go through mistakes, I need to know that they're mistakes so I don't do them again.
Yeah,
and sometimes I'm such a knucklehead, I'll go through them again. That's just me.
That's
just me where I'm the kind of person where you know what, I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna make it work. I don't care who's on the phone at home. I'm gonna make it work somehow. This is not a mistake.
Yeah.
But after a while, you're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not gonna make that mistake. I can't be making this mistake all the damn time.
Yeah.
But it's just life, and people need to just understand that they have their own destiny in their hands, and they gotta want it. They have to want it. When I got let go from Time Warner, and I was making good money over there, I didn't want to do cost. Bless you. I didn't want to do cost, and I didn't want to do corporate anything anymore. I didn't want to do nothing. I just didn't want to be under. I didn't want to have Big Brother looking over me. I didn't want to be micromanaged. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to deal with any of that. I said I've always had this ambition for properties, real estate, stuff like that, and just work with all that. And I had my idea of what I wanted to do, but I had to start from scratch. And when I started from scratch, I went and got my building. I had a business degree, which still has done nothing for me. And but I went back and I got this building certification, building maintenance certification. I went for like 3 months. Got that. That little certification has done more for me than my business degrees has.
Isn't that something?
From there, I got this little low-paying job, low 20s a year, okay? And I did that for like four and a half years. Then I did something else. Little by little, I kept climbing back up. Now I'm with the city. I mean, I'm not where I want to be. I'm where I want to be. I am where I want to be as far as this kind of work. Right now, I mean, what better than with the city, with the benefits and all that. And the pay scale will keep going up and up and up as long as I keep doing my thing. But
listen, you get your foot in the door, though.
Absolutely. Been waiting to do that.
Yeah.
Been waiting to do that, but it took time. It took patience. It took like 6, 7, 8 years.
I think that's the key, too, is being patient. It's
I mean,
it
was a career switch for me.
Yeah.
Everything for me was customer service before that. Customer service and doing this and sales and so forth. I said I want nothing to do. If I'm going to work again for the man, I'm going to do it for something that I enjoy doing.
There you go.
And I want to learn this stuff. And I learned so much of it that, this is, I got to where I'm at right now.
Isn't that something?
I love it.
I think things happen for a reason, and the path took you into what you're doing.
It was a hard path because I mean you're stretching $1 and you're trying to make $1 out of 10 cents.
Listen, I've
It's
been
hard.
there too, man. I
It's
hear what you're
hard.
saying.
It's hard. It was really hard. There was times where I'm like, I'm gonna lose my house. How the hell can I make this
Isn't that
happen?
something?
Yeah.
There's a saying in Spanish, Dios aprieta pero no ahoga. And I'm a firm believer in that. Listen, I went through the same thing. I got displaced.
And that's what kept me going.
Yeah.
God won't give me nothing I can't handle.
It's true. And things happen for a reason. Sometimes we question, like, why is this happening to me? Like, why am I going through all these changes? Man, let me tell you, what doesn't break you will only make you stronger.
Yep.
I went through the same situation where I was displaced from the company that I'd been with, I think, 10 years. And that led me to boxing. And who'd ever think? I went from it being a hobby to now this is what I do.
Yeah.
But situations occurred, and I questioned it, and I was upset and tormented by it because I did so much for that company.
Yeah.
And with anything, you're a number. You're a commodity.
And that's what hurt me. I was like, you know what?
'Cause you
Really,
get
after
passionate.
everything I did here, that's how you gonna treat me?
You know what? And I think that's a Latino thing because we love, man. We do things and we do things passionately.
Listen,
Love
I don't
hard,
care if it's baking
fight hard.
cookies. I'm gonna make the best damn cookies. When I go all out. And I have a thing, one thing I gotta say, it's a gift and a curse, because I believe when I start something, I gotta finish it.
Me too. I'm with you on that.
That hurt me with RBI. when I went to RBI, which then turned into Everest, and the story, as you know, a few weeks ago, how they shut down. That degree's done nothing for me. I started it, and a few semesters in is when I realized I'm not learning a damn thing. I'm like, I know all this stuff right here. They're not challenging me enough. And then I found out that those credits I couldn't carry, and then they don't offer any bachelor programs. I'm like, but now I'm like, you know what? I was already going through a bad separation from my kid's mother, and I was like, you know, I need this to occupy me right now.
Sure. Yep.
I need this to occupy me. Besides, I started it. I'm gonna finish it. I don't want years down the road saying, damn, I could have been done by now.
Yeah.
You know, so I like to. When
I think that whenever there's a learning opportunity, it's not a wasted opportunity.
No, true.
You know,
there's only
relationships.
There's only one thing I learned the whole time I was there. The most important rule of business. You ready?
What's that?
Location, location, location.
There you go. Especially real estate. That's key, isn't
location,
it?
Location, location. That's key for every business.
That's right, though.
I mean, you gotta place yourself in a certain place for your business. You gotta market it right. It's where you're at, you know. And that doesn't always mean physical location. It's just location, location, location. You gotta position yourself to make your business grow.
That's absolutely right.
You should know that firsthand.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I entered into boxing, there wasn't really much happening, and now it's exploding.
Yeah.
Which is fun to watch.
Who used to put on the old events?
There was a gentleman, and it'll come to me. I'm sorry, the name escaped me, and he's an amazing guy. It'll come to me too. But he used to throw shows, but it was slowly deteriorating because you got to support it. And unfortunately, Rochester's a great city, right? But you got to support your sports. We had a basketball team here, but it's all gone.
Yeah.
Because we failed to support it.
You know, we had a professional football team
Resnick.
here?
Yeah, his name is Ron Resnick. Resnick Promotions. Shout out to Mr. Resnick. Yeah, he was doing the shows, Hasim Rockman. I mean, this is Frontier Field, that era. The heydays back then. Gosh, I think even De La Hoya came under one of his
That's War Memorial.
Yeah, right. So we had a heyday, and then it sort of took a dip, right? And I think partly it's because some of the local fighters sort of fell out, which kept the interest going, and you know.
I didn't see some of your numbers dwindle down a little bit too.
Yeah, well, it's partly because the day that I had my show, there was also a big card, maybe an hour and a half away, so I think that had a lot to do with it. But we'll continue to strive. The second you lose your vision, you know.
Yeah.
I have my eye on the ball, right? I have sponsors, and I also have fighters that I have to make sure that they're in the ring. You know, each time my fighters are in the ring, we're progressing their record. I don't know if you know this, Levias Williams is now ranked. So we're proud of him. We're excited for his career. His next fight is, I think, June 16th. So we're moving.
You know what?
Fighting again.
You know what we need to do with you? We need to do. You know how they do the 24/7 with boxing? You know?
Oh, the HBO behind the scenes.
Yeah. We need to do something like that for you.
Oh, we gotta follow Melissa. We'll definitely do it. We'll do it with the Hurricane, and she's got a big fight. We got a title fight June 12th, I think.
Yeah, we gotta do that.
Yeah, it'll be
Channel
fun.
15. We gotta get on the public channel, guys. We gotta start getting somewhere where cable, where people can actually watch us on the tube.
Okay, we had that conversation this week. We'll tune in when we get that.
That's right.
There we go. Take all our episodes and put it out there. But I mean, that would generate some more attention right there, and start building up. And
There's a lot of great talent here, and again, I'll go back to Levias Williams. You know, Red is from, what is it? From Future Boxing. He's our local kid, and this kid is getting national attention. Yeah. I mean, he fought international. Like the guy was from freaking the Olympics, the Spaniard Olympics. Yeah, the Spaniard.
That was a hell of a fight.
That was a brawl.
That was a fight.
Thank you.
Now I don't agree with the numbers.
The scorecards were a little different. Listen, I'm not going to complain because it was in my favor, but
the scorecards were a little off, in my opinion, because they both were going at it. You know what? All the guys.
Toe for toe. Every single
That's
round.
what I'm saying. Yeah. Me and the guys that were standing there, because they kept telling us to sit down, we're like, oh my God, no way, this is too good. Yeah. And we were like, man, if this is a draw, we wouldn't even complain. Because it was that good. They were going at it.
Yeah, that intense. In fact, the fight prior, it was like a picture. It was the exact same fight. He fought Chris Lopez, who was a U.S. Olympian. This kid, I was nervous. I said, well, I know Red's talent. This kid comes a little different. You know, he's got a different skill set, and he just made it look easy. But Red, we've got talent right there. So,
what's Red's record now?
He's 7-0-1.
Woo!
Yeah. And again, he's ranked. I mean, if you look at and for those who don't know much about boxing, there's a database that's open to the public. It's BoxRec, and you could plug in a fighter's name and see what their record is, and you could also see where they stand on state ranking. He's doing extremely well. If I could just pull up some little key elements, he's one of the younger ones in his class, in his age group, of course, and I'm sorry, in that staff ranking. Also had the least amount of fights to be ranked. I mean, that says a lot. That means every single fight that he's taken are quality fights. You know, you're not just fighting bums.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
fighting
absolutely.
competitive, every single one. And his fan base is continuously growing. So it's an exciting time to see him grow and
That's
be
what's
part of
up.
that career. And, you know, he's going to make Rochester proud. Another 585 story.
Speaking of 585, what's up with the fight coming up this weekend?
Yes,
We're here.
my boy Willie,
Like
yes.
the last 10, 11 minutes of
Let's
it.
stay, say, take a quick break. Let's rearrange the section. I want to join you up there for the.
Awesome.
No problem.
All right, so we'll do that. And
Cheers.
here, why don't you, here, you just slide over. I'm just slide this.
I heard him say rearrange the section.
Look,
You're on now.
You see? He didn't say we're on early. He said we're on now.
we were on then too.
No, we weren't.
You're on, you just weren't on the mic.
So
See?
we
Their
were.
thoughts were just going into the wall.
People just read my lips.
Yeah, that's what they were doing. A bunch of lip
Exactly.
readers.
We
You never
actually
seen
do a
this,
little,
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
know why it went back to the
anime,
mic.
Chinese stuff. But so I kind of want to jump in a little bit of a question about boxing as a whole. So this last fight that we just had with Mayweather, Pacquiao, right? A lot of people, you know, boring fight. To me, I'm watching, I'm like, okay, I get it. But you know, Mayweather being this defensive kind of person, and I love Willie today. Actually, in one of his interviews that was posted, he used the analogy. He goes like, all right, in football, when your team scores, you know, do you sit there and turn around and go, okay, yeah, now let the next guy score, and then I'll score? He's like, no, you know, your team scores, then you go out there and you make sure the other team doesn't score.
Right.
Right? And I was like, that's it. And it's just that in boxing, if you will, the defense, I mean, it's that the people are not getting hit.
Right.
And like that was the piece
You know,
about.
I gotta tell you
Go.
that Mayweather does get a bad reputation because they say he runs, but it's not as, I mean, no fighter in their right mind would want to stay there to get hit. Now,
Right.
you will look for an opportunity to get your hit in. Listen, I'm ready to just like,
Yeah.
I gotta
he's
beef
doing
with
his
that.
job. Listen,
What's
he,
that?
I hear you.
Hold on, hold
He's
on.
got the best.
Hold on, here we go.
I'm just
There we
saying,
go.
the
He's
man has
the
the
best at
best defense in the game of boxing, probably in the history of boxing. The best defense ever. But in my opinion, we will never know what Mayweather is really made of because he's never really gone toe to toe with anybody.
Would you rather have a great defense or a great offense?
I'd rather have a good fight. I'm a fan. I'm not a fighter. So as a fan, I want to see him fight. If I wanted to see a defense fight,
So do you want- so-
I watch
Yeah.
something else.
Are you a
I gotta-
fan
I
of
gotta say-
box? Okay.
Yeah, like the whole Mayweather Pacquiao, because I mean, as a promoter, I was there.
Right.
So for me to experience that is just, it was a different
You were there?
for me. Yeah, I went
Oh,
to
like
Vegas. It was a different
Where were you
experience
this?
for me.
We were all like talking about it that night, like, why is she there? We're all here. All the, anyways.
It was a different experience. I did expect a little bit more action. But you know what? It's another chapter for another day. I'm sure there's going to be a rematch. Whatever, there's a business side to it. Pacquiao was also very cautious too. Now, if you've seen Pacquiao in his early years, this kid is a lion. He'll come in for the kill.
He
I didn't
throws
see
over
that.
100, 200 punches around.
Yeah.
And I didn't see that.
Yeah.
No, I
didn't see
think that might have something to do with the shoulder. Now that the shoulder thing's been exposed by the doctor said it, and that he just had surgery, so
Yeah.
it's not a BS story. It's legitimate. He should have called it off, but I guess he really wanted to. I don't know why he.
Well, there's too much
continued.
money invested in
That's
that, so
probably
you
why,
can't
the
really-
money, but I probably would have called off the
Yeah.
fight and really put a fight on there. Because I mean, a win to me would have been more important. At that point in my career, a win would have been more important than the money.
Sure. Yeah.
So what? So what do you, as a boxing promoter, and knowing that if the sport is not exciting to the fans, then where do we go from here, kind of thing?
Because a lot of people are let down. They don't want to buy another Mayweather. They don't even want to watch another Mayweather
You
fight.
know what? And they will watch another Mayweather.
They will.
Because here's what happens: is Mayweather has built. It's interesting because most of his fans actually hate him, right? There's that, and he's built this whole persona of he's a jerk. He's a name every possible noun and verb that you could possibly name a person who's arrogant. But if you know him as a person, he's far from it.
It's a
But
character.
This is a character,
yeah.
and people watch because they want to see him lose, right? Like Broner. People hate Broner, and I think he's brilliant in the ring. When I post that, I get so much hate mail and all that stuff.
Yeah, how brilliant was he when he got knocked out that one time?
Right. That was an interesting fight too, and just the way he ran off probably left things to the imagination. But a lot of great cards coming up. And in fact, last week it was the last fight that was with the Mexican Canelo. Why am I drawing a blank on it? But there's been some excellent cards, and there will continue to be. Miguel Cotto's back in the ring.
Oh, you're
again.
talking about Canelo?
Yes, Alvarez and Kirkland. And I'm
Mhm.
drawing a blank. This is what I do. I don't know why I went back, but that was such an explosive fight. Talking
3
about
rounds.
toe to toe, but right. And then there's a controversy with that because he had a female trainer, and he actually left his trainer, and he was out of the ring for I think a year and change, 14 months. And here it is, Kirkland's now facing Canelo. Probably not the best fight for him to take at that time. So not only is that controversy about the way he lost, but also why did you leave your female trainer? So
Who was that?
So-
Canelo?
Wolf. No.
Oh, Kirkland.
Well, one thing that's interesting for me, again, just how much of boxing is more than what happens in the ring. And until I really got to know Willie and how he was talking about the mental strategy that goes in, and that it is a chess match. And even like you're saying, there's so many pieces that go to it. How important the corner is to the
Absolutely.
right?
The chemistry has to be right.
Right. There's so much more that goes into boxing.
You
than
never
the-
seen Miguel Cotto fight then. His father used to slap him in the corner.
That's right.
His father used to slap him. He used to
Yeah.
tell him, go out there, let him take his hardest hit. He used to tell him, go out there and say, take his hardest hit. So you can know what his hardest hit is, and now you got that off your shoulders, now you can go in there and fight.
Yeah.
He used to smack him, his father.
And I think that's kind of the point. There's this whole backstory to almost every single fight.
Sure. The training is such a small part of it.
Right.
It really is. And being so close to Willie, understanding the path that he's gone through. Listen, there's a gentleman right now that, may God rest his soul, Johnny Boz. He's looking down on him right now because he was a matchmaker. He's a famous matchmaker. He had great respect for Willie. Early on in his career, he knew that Willie was special when everyone else sort of kind of turned their backs on Willie. I remember a conversation in my kitchen when we were talking about going to visit Johnny Boz and to talk about his career. What are we going to do with him? And it was such an exciting meeting, and unfortunately he passed away. But now I'm sure he's looking down on Willie and just really proud of where he is now in his career.
And I think for me, seeing Willie, and why I'm saying there's a bigger story than what's happening in the ring. Because here's a man who, again, he's going to step in this ring, and a lot of people may look at him from what I'm learning and say, oh, he's a Mayweather-style fighter. Because he is that defensive, smart, very smart fighter.
Mhm.
And one of the articles I read today is that Willie may come out of this fight as the next man, as the next boxer, all fans love to hate. And that he could actually come out and be the spoiler.
The only way he does that, if honestly, in my opinion, the only way he's gonna beat this guy is not by strength. It's by,
Well,
he's gonna outsmart him.
If you will, that's the point of this article, is that Willie is such a defensive boxer, right? And Willie was saying, his things like, you know, you can come and hit as hard as you want, but if I'm not there.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because during a Boxino tournament, Willie was the underdog. There was no way that Willie should have won that. But Willie has what most folks have. He has ring experience and ring intelligence. He knows when.
But he was
to cut
talking about
the
last
ring.
time, the boxing IQ.
Yeah, he knows how to cut the ring. He knows how to size up his opponent. Like, listen, this should have been easy work for was it the Ukrainian that he fought or the Russian that he fought? It should have been a no-brainer in this case. And again, a decorated background, an Olympian, came in undefeated, and here he made it look easy.
And what
Because Willie has been there. He's been through all these challenges before, and he's faced them. This is going to be a big fight for him.
And for me,
And I got to tell you, win or lose, he's still going to do well.
I already won. He already won. And I'm gonna say this because we're gonna get into prayer here shortly. The one thing that Willie said that night, he says, you know what? If God gets the glory of what I'm doing, then that's what it is. And right now, just this week, the amount of prayer that's been going out, the amount of people who've been aware of who Willie is, and has already given God the glory. So he's already won.
That's right.
Right, he's already won, and that's kind of the piece of it. But to come back to the sport for a second, when I was watching the Boxino stuff, because that's me going, okay, I got to understand this better now, and going back to, all I ever watched was Mike Tyson, and the reason we watched Mike Tyson was
You should
like,
sit down and watch tapes. Man.
okay, it's over.
Like the Leonard Hearns fights and
Well,
you should
I
watch all
like
those
growing
fights.
up when I
Hagler,
was younger, I saw some of those
Chavez,
things, right?
those days.
But I basically stopped from like Tyson for years, right? And those are the heavyweight fights. But for me, when I was watching the Boxino, it was interesting because I'm sitting here going, okay, I'm watching. I heard him talk about it, and I'm able to watch. And all of a sudden, you'd be like, wait a second. And I was pausing, and I'd go back and watch. I'm like, oh, Willie just hit the guy. But he's so fast. Like every now and then, like Willie would move, and he'd be like, what just happened there? Did you see the guy's head?
Well, imagine the
snap?
counters. How many counters are there usually around the ring? 2, 3?
Yeah.
The guys that do this. And I think there's one for jabbing, one for power punch or something like that.
It's this organization called CompuBox, and they literally count the amount of whatever activity.
And it's like 3 of them, and it averages out.
The head, the batter, you know, they measure everything.
And does the punch have to connect in a certain way for
Well,
it
they
to
count
count?
both, right? They count punches thrown and punches landed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that's a hard job because us as
Imagine.
fans on TV,
right.
what perfect example was the Mayweather and Cotto fight. I was there for that.
That was an amazing
And it looked
fight.
like Cotto was getting in that ass. It looked like we were going crazy over there. We're like, oh my gosh, look at, I mean, we can see from the camera, the screens that Mayweather was bleeding. We're like, and then it turns out that the commentator was like, I hear why everybody's cheering because it looks like Cotto, from where they're at, it looks like Cotto's doing his job, but they don't, in reality, he really wasn't landing because of his maneuvering, of Mayweather's maneuvering. He really wasn't connected as
I'd love
much
to see
as...
that fight again, by the
I
way.
would love
A
to see that.
rematch.
Give me,
And-
if anybody
and-
deserves a rematch, was him.
And to me, that was what it was like going live to your
Oh,
event
okay.
there, right? Because then all of a sudden I'm there going, whoa, it's all right there in front of me now.
I can see it live.
And you can see it so different. I walk at all the different angles, and I'm like really enjoying the sport for the sport that it is.
Right.
And one of the things like, and you just
So the
you wanna
sport
see-
of the world.
Yeah, like
Well-
you just said, I want to see a fight. And I'm sitting here going, I don't know. I think there's something about the sport that I wish more people could see.
The sweet science.
Right, the actual.
See, I've been spoiled.
You
I've been
have.
spoiled with the Trinidads, the Pernell Whitakers, the Mickey Ward, the Turrigattis, and
Right.
all, even Tyson and Holyfield. I mean, even before that, Sugar Ray Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, all those guys, they used to go in there toe to toe. And I cannot knock Mayweather for his defensive style, for doing what he has to do. But as boxing fans, we like to see a fight.
Yeah.
Sure.
And you know, if the Steelers brought some running back that every time they handed him the ball, he got 3.5 yards, you'd love him for it.
Well, we do
And it'd
have
be the
him.
world's
He averages
most-
8 yards a run.
Yeah,
That's,
right.
his name is
And
Le'Veon
I'm
Bell.
not saying averaging. I'm saying every time you handed it to that running back, you got 3.5 yards. You would be the happiest
Or-
man
That
ever.
was last. I'm
And
telling you,
that
we
would
had
be
that
the
guy.
Most boring offensive team, right? Because run up the middle, run up the middle. We want to see the big, the big long passes, the
Sure,
cool, everything
right,
else.
right.
And that's the same thing that's happened to boxing here, because you're like, I want to see the fight. And what we're starting to see, at least from my new experience, are people who have now looked at the sport and said, I can win because I know the sport of boxing. I know because I've taken
I want to say the sport, but I think he knows the science of
the
boxing.
science.
I mean, Mayweather is a technician. He is probably the smartest. If you're talking about IQ level in boxing, this man created a new level. They might have been 100, but he created something even higher. He is the smartest. I won't take that away. He is the smartest man in the ring. I give him that, 1,000%. I just wish he would go in there toe to toe so I could see what he's really made of. And really just fight, go back and forth, exchange punches.
Yeah.
So what you want is
I
like,
think we would have seen that fight. We would have seen that fight that if the Mayweather Pacquiao fight that happened 5 years ago when they were in their prime.
Yeah.
I think we would have seen it. But unfortunately, here it is, the tail end of both of their careers.
Mhm.
They'll probably have a rematch, and that's the end of both of their careers.
And they'll probably just do that for money, and we'll probably see the same thing again.
and we're beginning to see the kind of.
But there's a new batch of it. Yeah, there's
I was
a new
about to say
batch
we're
of
at the
excitement.
beginning of
Yeah.
that new excitement, and you're actually sitting right at the very kind of precipice of all of that new
Yeah, I'm
talent.
excited.
Because that's his
I'm
next
excited.
career, right? He's a promoter. He's gonna be a promoter.
Oh yeah,
He's
he is a promoter. He's got
Yeah.
he's got Love. He's got a lot of fighters under his camp. So that's his next step. Is he's going to go on. He's a West Coast guy, but boxing has come a long way. And I love the fact that entertainers are now getting into it. And I think that's the juice that boxing needed to get past the whole MMA. Because there's always this competition, MMA, boxing. Listen, we're all combat sport, and I think we also I'll go to an MMA match any day because I love it.
Mhm.
But I think boxing needed something, and I love the energy that it's coming. It's bringing in celebrities to be promoted, and they're doing a phenomenal job because they're linking up with some of the smaller promoters. So it's good stuff. And seeing the boxers, listen, for a while, there's an influx of boxers, and more so in upstate New York, that we're looking for work. There weren't any cards happening in this area. Now there's boxing events happening in Buffalo. There's boxing events, of course, here, Syracuse. I mean, we didn't have boxing in this area for a very long time. So now we're starting to see kids do their pro debut, and see these kids all busy. I mean, Charles Murray's gym is busy. I love to go by that gym because you see so many new faces.
Where is this gym at?
It's on West Main Street.
Okay.
Yep. So there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening.
And I think that even beyond all the cool stuff in the sport,
What's right down the street in here? Very cool. The next building up.
if
Really?
that-
Yeah, because he moved, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Fedler. The
Yeah,
Fedler.
the Fedler,
building.
yeah,
Yeah.
Again, I guess beyond all of the boxing thing, what I really want people to know is who Willie is. That man has an incredible heart,
Yes.
and it's not just a heart like I'm a champion. I'm going to win in the ring. If I fall down, I'm going to get up, which you better do, otherwise he's on you. But it's a heart for the community.
Yeah, yeah.
It truly is. His heart is about the kids who maybe, where you were talking about over on Clinton Avenue earlier, maybe those kids who don't really have any other hope. He actually wants his own struggle to be their hope.
Yeah.
And he takes that extraordinarily seriously. And that's what I got every time he was here.
Yeah.
That's what you take from the
You
guy.
know, a couple years ago, and I think I do it every year, I'll call him and during the Hispanic Heritage, and I'll ask him, can you join me in a couple of city schools so that they can meet you? And he always, he loves to do that. He talks to the kids about, hey, I was in a city school too, went to the School of the Arts, but he takes the time to actually do that work. And not so many fighters, I gotta say, unfortunately, not so many fighters take the time to do it. He's genuine.
And at the end of the last fight up in
Turning Stone?
Turning Stone here, when he wins, he ends up picking up his
His son.
opponent's
Oh, yeah, yeah.
son.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
You're like, come on, that to me was the sport, the professional, the true character in the man.
Sure, sure.
I don't miss
That
a
was
Willie
all.
fight if it's either in person or on TV. I support him wholeheartedly, and any local fighter. Any local fighter.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't, not this one, but the one before that you had at the Armory. I was going for the Puerto Rican guy. And was it the Puerto, I was going for the Puerto Rican guy. And, no, what the heck was it? I know we were all cheering for this one guy. It was a Puerto Rican guy, and I was like, you don't forget that, because if y'all gonna
We're
go
pretty
for
certain it was the Puerto Rican guy.
I think it was.
Absolutely, it was the Puerto Rican
So
guy.
I decided to go for the other guys. And like, you know what? Yeah, because they kept messing with me, and I was like, you know what? Then I'm gonna go for the other guy. You know, just to bet. You know, because I was messing. Me and mine, we just go back and forth. A friend of mine, we just be joking around with each other. I say, you go for him, I'm gonna go for the other person, because I just keep going for this guy. So I'm just to make it
That's
entertainment.
awesome. Right.
And then we started betting. I stole her pedicure.
No. The one guy at the on your card that you did, the Irish guy, I guess, I don't know. Maybe
Yes,
it's
about
got-
the bags.
Whoa!
Oh,
Was
he's
that man
on
a
it.
machine?
Yes.
That
You know
man
what's
was
funny?
a machine.
It's funny because he almost didn't take the fight. I'll tell you the funny story because he's in Canada now. He's Canadian, and we had problems getting him past the border. So here I am. I'm like, oh God, I need this fight. I need him to. And it was a 4-rounder. He was fighting one of the kids from New York. I needed him to go. So here I am trying to figure out how do I get this kid past immigration. 'Cause, I mean, we're strict now, right?
Wow,
Now we care about
right.
who actually comes in our country. And then I said, okay, so it's 12 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock and he's still sitting there because now he's being interrogated. We actually had to send someone out there to show the paperwork. Like this is legit. He's 100% going to be performing, and once he's done with his job, he'll head back to the United States. I mean, back to Canada.
Wow.
But these are some of the things. So we didn't know if he was going to make it or not. And what a spectacular
What
fight
a-
it was.
that was-
a great fight.
That was a wonderful fight.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going, this. He was just a machine.
Yes, he was.
Hit me, and he so lived up to that. Either again, Irish Scottish.
Yeah.
He lived
Yeah, it
up.
was this one. It was the first fight of the game.
Oh,
Yeah, and he just lived
That
up
was
to that
a great
persona
fight.
of I'm just here to beat you.
Yeah.
And he was
He had
great.
a kid on the floor. Yeah, it was something very special.
It was a that was.
But it was
a great
everything.
fight.
Listen, he came out with the bags.
Yeah.
It was everything.
Oh, the
He set
pipe bags.
stage.
What are you talking about? The bagpipes, right?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we had a very similar fight. It was Hector Camacho versus Lee Murtaugh. Talking
Oh,
about
my
having
gosh.
two powerful communities from Rochester, the Irish and the Puerto Rican community. Oh man, it was like mayhem, but it was so.
You know, it was even worse because Camacho won. Camacho didn't win.
Right.
Camacho didn't win that fight.
But he lost on points. You know, the Irish guy did lose on points. And it's unfortunate because he got sloppy towards the end, and I think he was just getting frustrated with the fact that, you know, whatever.
Maybe it was my disappointment with Camacho's performance.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he showed up. First of all, I see this guy looked heavier without a shirt than he did with a shirt. I'm like,
What's your man?
but well, the thing is, the guy's mostly doesn't eat pork. It looks like a couple pork bags under his belly there. I'm like, the dude was heavy. I'm like, okay. And what weight class are you in? Everybody was messing with him where I was standing. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, he looks pretty heavy for his class. I'm
Yeah.
like, and then
Yeah,
he was
it was-
fighting that we just expected more because of the name. Even though Camacho has a history, his father has a legacy that's a little tainted. The man's never been knocked out. He always put exciting fights on.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that one fight that really pushed him back, it was one. Who was it that he had a big brawl with? He went toe to toe, and it just took. I think it kind of scared him to the point where that's when he became the macho man,
Yeah.
and everything else was pretty much a theatrical show.
Yeah, his
but
father.
the man's never been knocked out.
Yeah, the man. He was very good in the ring. He had the speed. He was technical, and just an entertainer.
Yeah.
His father was an entertainer, and it was unfortunate that it was I think the eve or the year his father died, or it was maybe the year anniversary where his father died. So I don't know if all that sort of tribute to it, but it was. I think a lot of the fans were a little disappointed. They expected him to live up to maybe his father's legacy.
I think that happens all the time across
Yeah,
the
and
board.
you're right, and it goes back to
Even like Chavez Jr., you know.
Oh, right. So when
Yeah.
your father is a legend, how do you follow? You know,
Absolutely.
those are big shoes to follow. In fact, I think I'm going through that because my mother is such a legend to me.
Yeah.
My,
No,
mother,
she
my mother
is.
is a G. Listen, she's something else. But as a promoter, all I can tell him is be you. Forget the fact that you're a junior. Be you and do the best that you can in the ring. That's all I could ask of anyone that's signed under my promotion company. Yeah.
So let's move on to the prayer. Alright, so again, for anybody who might be watching, and what I do, I just lost my phone, which is kind of fun.
That's not your phone.
I lost the battery.
I don't need this part of it. So last time Willie was here, and again he did. We were asking, hey Willie, what would you what could we do for you? Is there anything? And the one thing he said, you know what? Pray for me. That was what he asked for. He says, just pray. And again, it wasn't pray that I win the fight, right? Pray that God strikes down Triple G, and it wasn't that kind of prayer. It was again, pray that pray and maybe something good will happen for the community out of this. And it's like that's where his heart was. And when we stopped and we went to prayer, which I thought was honestly one of the more cool things that we've been able to do since we started this thing even about a year ago, because there was so many men, just different men, that diverse backgrounds, just coming together into one common faith. And while we were praying, there one specific, I just got to find it here, specific verse came to mind, and it was a piece where something, there I was speaking to them, and of course now I'm not going to find it, there it is, 17. Luckily we know every part of the Bible in our instant, and this comes from Exodus, actually 17:11, and what had happened here was Joshua, and it's kind of interesting when you talk about like that next generation trying to live up to what happened before them, right? So Moses was delivered to the point where he's like, all right, you're never going to be able to see the promised land, and all of this is going to be turned over to Joshua. So it's the next generation of men working for God, if you will, and they got to this point where they were being attacked by the Amalekites, and as the story goes, God said, take this staff, and he's telling this to Moses, he says, hold the staff high, he says, hold it, and all the while that your arms are raised, Joshua will prevail. Israel will prevail against the people being attacked. He says, but if your arms come down, then what happened is the Amalekites started winning. So people, they actually, as the story goes, is they put people around Moses to actually help hold his hands up so that he could actually, that Israel would prevail. And that was that piece that came in. That's kind of the inspiration for Arms Up, if you will. So Arms Up for Willie. So with that, I guess I would just like to do a public prayer here for Willie and see if that works. All right. Are you want to lead this?
No, you good.
Okay, we're going to do this. All right. And I really appreciate you guys being here for this. And Willie, this is for you. Father God, we're just thankful that we can come before you. And Father, we come before you tonight and we just ask for first health and safety, and for both boxers, that both men would step up and they would deliver their best efforts in the ring, and that you would keep them from any significant harm. And we know that this is a ferocious sport and that there can be, definitely health concerns that can come. So Father, we're just praying that you will keep both men as kind of safe as possible that is in there while they're in the ring. But Father, for Willie specifically, I'd just like to pray that you sharpen his eyes. You let him see movement before the movement even begins. You sharpen his ears that he even hears the breath of his opponent. Father, that you are showing him the direction to move before he has to move. That you are making him not where his opponent believes him to be. Father, that you will protect him by letting him be who he is. Father, that he is your son. That he is a man after your heart. That he wants to bring glory to you. And Father, we would just ask that whatever happens out in Los Angeles, that you will be glorified, because we know that is exactly what Willie would ask for. Father, we just thank you that we are able to come together. And Father, we ask for a blessing over our community, because again, this is what Willie is asking for, is that something good could come from this community. We thank you that you pull us together in times like this, and sometimes it's just good to come together instead of around a crisis or around something that is negative, that instead we can rally as a community around something that is positive. A young man who has taken and persevered against circumstances most of us could not understand. A man who has just put his faith in you, and through his trust in you has found his own strength, his own guidance, if you will, to reaching the pinnacle of his career. And Father, we just ask that you are with him, that you, again, keep it a good fight, and that you're with Willie. Father, in the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. Amen. Cool?
Cool.
Beautiful.
All
right.
Yes.
And we are,
Go Team Monroe.
Team Monroe. Arms up for Willie.
Well, that's
I'm gonna
another
say-
segment of Real Talk
I'm telling-
360 right there. Thanks, Mercedes Vasquez,
Thanks
one
for
more
having
time.
me. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Come by anytime you want.
Every
Because
time.
you're better there than Julio is. Just said that, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I look forward to a great fight this weekend, and I don't know, I got invites from different places. I'm gonna wing it and decide what I'm gonna do when the time comes.
May the best man win. That's what you said, right?
No, Willie better win.
Team Monroe.
You better come back with that title, because we're gonna have it right here in Real Talk 360.
Right.
But again, thanks to Real Talk 360, Udicci, and Lexington Federal Credit Union. Thanks for coming out. God bless. Good night.
Out of here. Alrighty. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming
Thanks for
out.
taking my wine away, punk.
So much fun. Thank you.
Definitely appreciate you guys coming
We'll
out.
call it time.